I can control how people receive information. I can get buy-in on anything I want in my life, period, with anybody, anytime, and I can teach you how to do this. I've taught thousands of salespeople a really strong art. The guys in the room that learn from me understand that every word we say is perfectly positioned and intentional. What we present first changes the way people experience what we present next. But when someone asks you something and you're intentional and you're focused and you're making eye contact or stare at their nose and you pause for a moment before you speak, it actually makes you smarter. Clive in this video said, in his way of saying it, that this is a $3 million business conversation he had 6 months ago. The guy dropped it to $300,000 after this conversation. Freaking nuts. The bank is nervous that your business has no contracts or recurring revenue. You see how I'm literally prepping them to understand their valuation they came up with is crap? So this is an 8-step, proven, thoroughly tested framework, and we call it the pre-offer conversation. What I want to share with you today is really not something I came up with on the fly on a 2-sided piece of paper in the United Kingdom, in Birmingham, in the resorts world, after a 3-minute conversation with 3 other guys at a table. That's what it may seem like, but I've been working on psychological sales for about 14 years. And I've been studying something called pre-framing. There's a book called Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. It's very powerful. I was studying it before he ever put that book out in my own way. And essentially, I stumbled across something pretty special. It's the idea of I could, believe it or not, and I can teach you how to do this, I can control how people receive information. I can get buy-in on anything I want in my life, period, with anybody, anytime. I can get people to feel like it's their idea. It sounds like it could be used for negative and manipulation, correct? So we're not going to do that. We're going to only use it for good. But I figured out how to do this a long time ago. I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of nonfiction books on business, money, finances, success, inspiration, meditation. And when you read that many books, I'm literally a walking library, kind of like a Carl Allen. Probably the richest people you know are like that, by the way. There's a reason. Leaders are readers. Learners are earners. And when you do that, you're able to really learn from so many different people's perspectives, and you can apply that knowledge again and again. And over the last 14 years, I've figured out how to do this. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. Do you guys want to learn? Seriously. Okay. So we're going to talk about pre-framing. So what if I could help you learn how to get buy-in on practically anything else, anything you want in this life? Anything. From every conversation. What if I could, at some level, have you learn how to control the way people receive information? Does anybody recognize who this is in the picture? It's Professor X, younger Professor X, right? What if you had that ability? It's pretty amazing. What if you could change someone's entire perspective around a subject and allow them to put away everything they thought and receive that information with fresh ears? It's pretty impressive, right? What if you could change people's frame of mind before you begin to speak with them? Have you ever gone up to somebody and you're like, ooh, they're in a bad mood. This is not the right time, right? Or maybe someone's in a great mood and you have bad news, things like that, right? What if you could get someone to see your point of view, and get away from their personal biases they have around the subject, right? Like imagine if I walk up to Dave Ramsey and I try to convince him to like whole life insurance. I could do it because I use something called pre-framing. It's a pretty powerful concept. Do you guys want to learn this? Yeah. Okay, and then after I teach you, then can I teach you how to apply this to deal making? Yeah. Perfect. And we're on the right page. So this is all possible. All those what-if statements are true, and we do them. And I do it, and I teach it. Okay? And pre-framing is something pretty powerful. And if you do this correctly, you can leverage this power in your personal life, too, in a really, really good way. And I'm going to give you many, many examples. This is being recorded. Don't feel like you have to write down everything. Take as many pictures as you want. But I'm going to give you a lot of examples. I'm going to give you scripts, frameworks. I'm going to teach you how to say it. I'm going to give you 10, maybe even more, ready-made, pre-framed statements that you can use. Does that sound good? Let's go. So pre-framing. Let's talk about it. There's one key concept that really will tie everything together. Pace said something yesterday about me that I thought was very kind. He said, I have a way of making very complex things seem very simple. So I wanted to make it as simple as humanly possible for you. Ready? What we present first changes the way people experience what we present next. Isn't that interesting? Hey, this is kind of awkward. Do you consider yourself helpful? Can you do me a favor and grab that chair, and can you just put it next to this TV for me? I didn't mean to interrupt. My apologies. I just pre-framed him. If I would have said, I'm just kidding. I don't even need it. If I would have just said, hey, will you go move that chair? You probably would have looked at me like, we're in the middle of a presentation. But I asked him first, do you consider yourself a helpful person? I put him in the frame of mind of understanding what I presented to him first probably changed the way, the quickness, and the fact that you were just ready to do it because I presented something to you first before I told you what I wanted you to do. That's just one example. We'll go through several, right? So when you use pre-framing, you're literally setting someone up to hear and receive the information the way that you want them to receive it. Very, very powerful. So Mason and Nolan, you got to earmuff this whole thing because I'm going to teach Dad how to get you to clean your room. So these guys, they're too sharp anyway. They'd see right through you. They'd see right through you. So before I teach you this, I want you to understand that there are right and wrong ways to present this. If you try to do this the wrong way, it's not going to be very effective. You ever heard me say it's a game of inches? It really is. It's the little things that someone does who's really, really good at it compared to what you're doing. You maybe just be an inch away, right? So you've got to use verbal communication because without verbal communication, you can't use tonality. You can't use voice inflection. You can't use emotion. You can't allow someone to understand what you're saying and having it in the right frame, right? Even better than that, face-to-face or Zoom is even better because I can use hand gestures and body language, right? If I'm talking to you like this, it's kind of standoffish, but I can approach you. I can have my hands open, which means I'm ready to receive, right? I can use all that. Compared to trying to do it on a text message or an email. Does anybody ever type in all caps, or everybody have like a parent or a grandparent that types in all caps? Are they freaking yelling at us or what, right? You cannot effectively communicate through written communication. There are times you should, ask your lawyer. But in general, like this one's like, Mom, I've got something to tell you. Okay, what's up? Your brother was adopted. He's like, what? And it was just a voice, it was probably a voice dictation issue or autocorrect. Like, we can't control the way people receive written communication. In today's world, we have something called the interweb, and everything you send people is permanent. Everything you post is permanent. So I like to have these type of conversations when I have control over the way people are going to receive the information, right? If you notice me on stage, I use a lot of tonality. I use a lot of making my voice louder and lower, and I use a lot of hand gestures. It's because it's a more effective way to communicate. I can't have you understand what I want you to hear. I can't put you in the right frame of mind to receive the information I want if I don't have that ability. So don't do this. Everybody got it? I'm not going to text people in pre-frames. Everybody good? Good. I can still make it work if you do it right, but all right. So, do you consider yourself an adventurous person liking to try new things? Let me give you an example. So, in Robert Cialdini's book called Persuasion, anybody read that book? It's about as thick as 3 Bibles and a hymnal stuck together. It's dry. I wouldn't say read it because he teaches a lot. He doesn't just teach pre-framing. He talks about, it's almost like he's paranoid and he's telling you how to not to get sold to by advertising agencies. It's like a weird book. But if you really take what he's trying to teach you, and that one key thing, I broke it down. Don't worry about reading it. Remember the one thing I said. What we present first changes how people experience what we change next, right? So when someone walks up to somebody else and says, hey, do you consider yourself an adventurous person liking to try new things? It puts you in the frame of mind where you're like, yeah, you want to be that person. So I'll give you an example. There was a person in the mall doing a survey, and they walked up to everybody, and they said, would you like to try this chocolate-covered cricket? And 96% of people said what? No. So then the same surveyor walked to another 100 people and started with a pre-frame, just like you see here. Hey, do you consider yourself adventurous and like to try new things? Well, yeah, would you like to try this chocolate-covered cricket? 75% of people said yes. It's amazing, right? Because we presented something first that changed how they perceive something next. Pretty powerful. Let's give you another example. And believe it or not, Kendall, are you here? I actually had Kendall try to get me this overnighted because I was going to see how many people I could trick into eating a chocolate-covered cricket. But I couldn't get it here in time, so you guys are safe, I guess. Another example here. What does this look like to you? Sydney's room. Yeah, my daughter, Sydney. It's crazy. Jared shares an office with me upstairs in my house. 5 bedrooms upstairs. And poor Jared, if he needs your restroom, like, you do not go through Sydney's room to get to her restroom. It's like a disaster zone, right? But Mom, my wife, gets so upset with her about her room. And me, when I want her to do something, she does it instantly, and it pisses her off. Like, it pisses her bad. And I use pre-framing, so I say, Sydney, you know what would be really great today? What, Dad? We should go to Starbucks. Yeah, really? Can I get a Trenti, which means 30 ounces? No, that's a lot of sugar. We'll do a venti. Okay. Always pushing the envelope. I said, but you know what? If Mom is going to we're going to get buy-in from Mom to go to Starbucks today because it's past 1 o'clock. We know the rule, no caffeine after noon. I imagine if your room was spotless, we could probably get her to say yes. Oh, Dad, give me 10 minutes. It's crazy. Mom says it, hey, Sydney, clean your room. She just walks away. Like, seriously. Do you see the power? Mason, don't. Remember, Dad, you can use that later. Wait 5 years, they'll forget about it, right? Give you another example. This is kind of weird. Let me ask you a question, Nathan. Are you the kind of guy that if you had toilet paper stuck to your shoe, do you want me to let you know? Yeah, you smell a little bit, and I'm not sure if you put the right deodorant on today. You're welcome, right? You appreciate that because I'm your friend. And I asked you for that, right? Compared to, I said, hey, by the way, you smell like you're bad. You're like Pigpen on Snoopy, and like no one wants to get within 5 feet of you. I just insulted you. But instead, I actually went about it in a different way where I pre-framed you and I taught you how to receive the information I was about to tell you. No, by the way, you smell great. I wanted to hug you just so I can smell good for a while, right? But do you see the power of this? Let's keep going, okay? What if you ask somebody, are you the kind of person that wants to figure it out the hard way, or would you rather be able to follow a blueprint and follow in the footsteps of somebody who's already done it? Have you ever heard the saying, pioneers always die with an arrow in their back? It's a wonderful thing. When you want someone to do something that you want them to do, you have the ability to present something to them first that changes the way they receive what you present to them next. Give you thousands of examples if you want. Do you consider yourself a helpful person? Gotcha, right? But it's wonderful. Imagine if you're with your kids and they're not very just helpful. Maybe they're just in that age where they're a little self-centered and they're just busy and they're running around. Maybe you had boys like in my house and we're just 90 miles an hour all the time. And if you stopped and said, do you consider yourself helpful? They're like, yeah, Mom. Hey, can you help me clean the garage? It's a totally different world compared to, hey, Saturday, guess what? We're cleaning the garage. You see, you can use this in everyday life. It's powerful. Yesterday, I said something to you. Do you remember what I said? I said, let's suspend reality for just a second. I pre-framed you to open your mind to things that you normally, I got rid of all your limitations in life. I said, suspend reality. Abraham said yesterday, imagine that we can come to terms. Imagine that we're sitting here in this room, we can come to terms. Do you want to buy, or you want to sell? I want to buy. Let's make it happen. He said that first. He pre-framed it saying, hey, possibilities, it's going to happen. We're here together. We're going to make this work. And then whatever he said after that, they were so much more open to hearing it. Would you imagine that's correct? Compared to if the next sentence he said is, we're still $100,000 apart. Imagine if he said that without saying what he said first. Because if you say something first correctly, it changes the way we help them experience what we say next. Cool. Here's another one. I use this one a lot. Hey, besides money, what else is important to you? Besides money, what else would make this a home run for you and a win-win for me? That's a great one, right? You got a lot of people who've been in business for a long time. If you could learn this, go in a time machine 20 years ago, how much richer would you be right now? How much happier would you be? How much more fulfilled would your life be? How much better would your relationships be? Because some of us are what we call a bit prickly, right? Say that? Prickly. You know, and it's tough when you're one of those people, we call it RBF. You guys know what RBF is? Resting bitch face, right? This is a tough thing. Imagine if you're RBFer over here and you learn how to do this, all of a sudden people don't take every single thing you say wrong, and they're not always wondering, like, are you okay? Like, they're always, no, it's just how my face looks. Like, imagine if you can learn how to do this. So let's put this into action. You go into each conversation every single day, each conversation, this is a mindset shift, right? And you say, what does someone need to know? Or what frame of mind does someone need to be in to absorb what you're about to say and hear it and receive it? Hear and receive are two different things. Hear, listen, and receive are all three different things, right? But receive it in the way that you wanted it presented. Have you ever said anything and people take you out of context? It's freaking frustrating, isn't it? It is. It's pretty crazy. So every conversation, you need to walk into it before you do it. And this is part of pausing. You'll notice if you ask me questions, I rarely answer your questions. I don't answer questions. I usually pre-frame, then answer, or I ask a question and I put you on the spot. But most of you have asked me questions and you notice me pause. Did you guys notice that? Raise your hand if you asked me a question. I literally didn't answer you. I paused. And I had to stop and say, okay, how can I control the way they're going to receive this? Whether it's tough love, whether it's criticism, whether I wanted you to take a specific action that I felt like maybe you wouldn't take, like maybe be bold or courageous or go speak to somebody. I pause. And you think about, do they need to be in a creative headspace? Does somebody need to be in a creative headspace? You know, suspend reality for a second. Imagine anything in life is possible. Then say what you're going to say, right? Do I need to break it down some type of limiting belief first? Imagine someone has been defeated again and again and again. They're tired and they feel like they can't do anything wrong. They have terrible self-esteem. They have self-doubt that creeps in every moment they try to do something for themselves. You can go and break those limiting beliefs by saying specific things to someone, and then you can help them get past where they are stuck in life, just from learning how to do pre-framing. It's powerful. So it's not just about business. Do you see why I said this could be used for bad? But Carl, we're noble capitalists. We don't use things that we learn in this room for anything negative. We only help people. Imagine if you want to push emotion aside for just a second, right? And imagine if you said, suck it up. Or could be worse, or my wife's favorite, but did you die? She says that to the kids, right? It's not really received very well. How do you look at someone who's crying and say, but did you die? Right? The sentiment was there. Like, she wanted to make sure, like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. I know you fell, right? There's better ways to say it, and using pre-framing can help you a lot. Maybe you want them to acknowledge something to be true before you say what you're going to say. And that's what we're going to tie this into deal making. I love being able to display things as logical, undoubtedly true, something that's not able to be argued. It's fact. How do you display things and help people understand truth before you negotiate? So I'm going to teach you that today, okay? So this is a quote specifically from Robert Cialdini. He said, essentially, people will believe what they're paying attention to. Okay? Our values can easily shift dependent on how we are primed. Therefore, if you want something to seem more important in your audience's minds, make them focus on that first. It's powerful. What we present first changes the way people experience what we present next. Okay? So how do we use this in deal making? You guys ready for this? Okay. Some of you have been on a Zoom or in the United Kingdom, like Ernie and his kids flew out to the UK, and Michael, and saw me do this live. We've evolved it just a little bit. But I'm going to give you this 8-step framework on how you can get a lot of things accomplished in deal making. Look at that handsome guy. When you use what I'm about to teach you, you can use it to ask the broker to get you directly in touch with the seller. You can use it when you're making offers. You can use it when you're sending LOIs. You can use it to really dig through and ask clarifying questions. You can use it when you're trying to get less friction in the conversation to get the NDA signed. You can use it when you're trying to justify a much lower asking price than what's listed. You can do it when you're delivering bad news about the fact that the bank doesn't like your business. And you can do it in a way where they're calm, not condescending. You're not being an a-hole. They literally receive it the way you want it to. They believe it as fact, and they're not going to argue with you very often. There's still going to be some people, but that's what I'm about to teach you. If you were listening to that podcast, as Abraham and I were on Pace's podcast, and he said, Chris, do you have any scripts or frameworks that you can share, or are you going to share at Dealmaker Weekend that can help that process, like how you talk to sellers? This is it. We're about to jump into it. Okay, let's keep going. So I want you to, before you think about doing this, because every time we tell somebody not to go after something, they go after it, right? I'm going to tell you one more time, don't do this via email or text. Stop. Don't do this via email or text until you're a master. I can do it via email and text because I've done it a while. but don't. Do it verbally. Do it verbally, okay? Think about that. Imagine your brother was adopted. Like, that's not what she meant to say, and if she was on the phone, that would have not happened. She wouldn't have had an autocorrect. She wouldn't have had a problem with her voice dictation, whatever, okay? And I want you to understand that this is a new way, this is a paradigm shift in your mindset. This is a way that you can stop doing what you're doing now. The way you communicate now is probably fantastic, but I'm telling you, as somebody who's mastered communication, this can take you to the next level. So it's a mindset shift. It's an elevated way to approach communication, okay? So before you start doing this, and you put it into your daily lifestyle, it starts with a pause. It's intentional. You guys see my intentional shirts? Everything I say is very intentional, right? I've taught thousands of salespeople a really strong art. The guys in the room that learn from me understand that every word we say is perfectly positioned and intentional. You got to be intentional, and that starts with learning how to pause. Pausing actually makes you look smarter. Isn't that crazy? When you look dumbfounded and pause, that doesn't. But when someone asks you something and you're intentional and you're focused and you're making eye contact or stare at their nose, if you want to, that's what I do, and you pause for a moment before you speak, it actually makes you smarter, okay? So pause for just a moment and think about, how can I insert one of the things that we talked about today? What would have to be true? Suspend reality for a second. Wouldn't it be great if we did this and get their buy-in and then ask them to do the hard thing? Do you consider yourself a helpful person? Do you consider yourself adventurous and like to try new things? Are you one of those people that would rather learn from someone who's already been there, who's already been the pioneer, they know exactly what to do, or do you want to just go figure it out on your own? So I'm going to teach you something top secret. I just need you to raise your hand if I have permission. I have a specific strategy that I'm going to teach you, just like we talked about. And specifically, it's going to help prepare a seller to receive an annuity or seller financing offer. Chris, does this work with real estate? Yes. Okay. I want to help you learn how to use this to justify an offer that's much lower than the perceived valuation or what sellers are wanting you to pay, or helping a seller understand that the valuation they came up with is not something that banks are willing to lend money on, okay? Also, you can combat, we call the broker walls, or maybe I call it the broker walls, but it's that wall you hit when you only go after those bad broker type deals, right? When you're just sitting there and clicking and pressing submit request, submit request, submit request, you're going to be able to learn how to even get around that a little bit, and then how do you kind of soften the broker up to the idea of getting an annuity offer, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so before I teach you this, I'm going to be true with you and be real. If you're an asshole, it's not going to work. I'm serious. And if you got RBF like this guy, it's not going to work. If you naturally come off as condescending, what a beautiful gift you were given, right? If you naturally come off as condescending, it's just not going to work for you, right? And if you're not a good communicator and you have a really hard time even just speaking to people, God bless you, but it's not going to work. You've got to be able to have confidence. You've got to be able to have some level of flow, right? And the good news is it's only 8 little things, 8 steps. One thing I do big time, I don't teach scripts. You guys hear me? You know what happens when you learn a script? You're on your heels the moment it gets deviated from the path. I teach frameworks. Frameworks allow you to have flexibility, right? And if you're trying to use this strategy on broker deals that just hit the market, then obviously it's not going to work very well. Same thing with real estate. You guys ready? Let's jump in. So this is an 8-step, proven, thoroughly tested framework, and we call it the pre-offer conversation. So it's 8 steps, 8 steps. You guys write these down, take pictures, whatever you want. Number 1, you got to understand timing is everything. When you look at the timeline of a transaction, there are certain steps that are in play, and if you decide to just do this randomly on the wrong step, you're going to not have success. So think about this. So you're out there originating deals, you're doing what Carl calls the what? Sniff test, right? You're not spending too much time on vetting the deal, just enough to understand, is it worth pursuing, okay? And you are doing some deeper vetting, you're doing valuation and deal structure, you've had rapport, communication, meetings with the seller multiple times, you built up know, like, and trust, right? From this point, you've had financials, you've reviewed them, it's been enough time, it wasn't in like 2 days, this is something that it needs to be a part of the process, it's not something that you can rush. Everybody got me? Okay, so here's the 8-step framework. And literally, there's a picture of it. I drew that. I've been using this for years. But I drew this on this piece of paper, and I've got the other side on the next slides. But the 8 steps are pretty simple. Pre-frame, educate, set the stage. We're going to do something called a like bridge. We're going to blame the bank. Then I'm going to prophesize for a second. I'm going to tell you, hey, there is a way. Then remember in middle school when you broke up with someone? It's not you, it's me. We're going to say, it's not me, it's you. And then we're going to say, what else? You guys ready? Okay, for the sake of time, we're going to go to eat after this, so I'm going to try to get through this quick. And I'm going to literally spit this at you in framework, in flow. I'm going to say the whole entire thing several times. You guys ready? Okay, pre-frame. This is super simple. Did we send the LOI yet? No, we did not send the LOI yet. No, no, no. This is before the offers of negotiation. This is a pre-frame conversation saying, I just want to start by saying I'm going to bring you an offer. I'm going to bring you an offer. Going to bring you an offer. Next is educate, set the stage. Remember what I told you. I want them to receive this in a way where it's indisputable. I'm not opening it up for arguments. I'm not opening it up for debate. I want them to believe it. I want them to feel like I'm not being condescending. But instead, I'm saying, hey, it's not feasible or common practice to pay cash for this type of purchase when you buy a business. And then just like in real estate or in property, an investor goes through a bank and gets a loan. I just want to let you know, for your business, I'm going to be applying for financing. You can say with the bank, whatever. Can you dispute that? Do you feel like most every seller has some level of comprehension around real estate and that people have something called a mortgage, right? I'm going to bring you an offer, and it's not feasible or common practice to pay cash for this type of transaction on your business, but just like in real estate, I'll be going and applying for a loan similar to a mortgage. Pretty simple. Is that hard? That's literally like 3 sentences. Done. Like bridge. And just like when buying a property with a mortgage, the bank's not going to loan me more money than the appraised value. Once again, is that disputable? Yes or no? No. Kyle's like, yes, I'm creative and I got, no. But for the normal world, they don't know what you know, right? Pretty simple. It's indisputable. I'm not calling their baby ugly. I'm not saying anything else. I'm putting them in a frame of mind to understand that a lower offer is coming and that we've got some cool stuff coming. You guys getting this? Cool. You like this? Let's keep going. Oh, the like bridge. I didn't tell you. The like bridge is a concept, if you've never heard of it. And the like bridge is a way where you can give someone an analogy of something that they're probably going to know and say, this is just like this, right? So if I said some company, like I said, COVID care, and you're like, what is it? You ever heard of Amway? Yeah, it's kind of like a multi-level marketing company where you get paid. It's just like that. That's a like bridge. Easy to understand? Okay. Blame the bank. Based upon the finances you gave me, the bank is telling me at this point they're not willing to finance this at the purchase price and what you're asking for. If it's hard money, same thing. My lenders told me, based off the numbers that you provided, that they're not willing to finance the amount of money that you're asking. Think about positioning, intentionality. My words are precise. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm saying the bank. Blame the bank. Keep going. Prophesize. Not being sacrilegious, but I'm telling you, hey, by the way, this is not just for me. It's not just for me. Anybody's going to have the same issue, right? It's not just me. Any other prospective buyer is going to come across the same issue. Your finances are your finances, right? Then I'm going to say, but there is a way. I'm exploring ways now to be able to purchase your business much closer to the number that you're asking for. And just to let you know, I am 100% committed to see if I can make this work. And then remember advocate shift, remember that? And even if we can't, I'm 100% committed to helping you figure out how we can get your business sold. Cool, right? Now you're their advocate. This is the middle school thing. It's not me, it's you. And in this case, it's not my personal financial profile or the ability to buy your business that's holding this back. The bank doesn't agree with the valuation. And here's the magic. You guys ready for this? This is framework, not scripts. And they have worries about what? It could be any of these things. This is a framework that can be inserted into any deal conversation. Think about that, right? The idea is, the bank's worried about the translation of value due to the fact that you're still running the business and wearing multiple hats, or the fact that your customer relationships are with you personally, or that your vendors may not treat us as the new owner and honor the contracts. Or they may say your business has a lack of cash reserves, which makes them nervous. Businesses need to have that, but sellers don't know that, do they? They don't. Can you dispute any of this information? No. Can you say it without sounding condescending? Yes, right? The fact that your biggest customer concentration lowers valuation, right, Carl? The fact that your biggest customer makes up 38% of your revenue makes the bank nervous. Did I say it makes me nervous? Did I tell them that their baby's ugly and that your business sucks? I did not, right? But I'm planting seeds. I'm planting seeds. I'm going to let this marinate for a while, right? Or the bank is worried about the fact that your business took a dip last year in revenue, right? Banks like to see trending history on an incline over 3 years. The bank is nervous that your business has no contracts or recurring revenue, right? This is so easy. Do you see how I'm literally prepping them to understand their bank, their valuation they came up with is crap? It's way too high and no one's ever going to give it to them. And it's not just me, it's anybody else who pursues this. Make sure you understand that, right? It's powerful stuff, isn't it? Kyle, can you use this in real estate? Absolutely. What else? And one more question. Before I draw up the offer, I wanted to find out, besides money, put money to the side for a second. Imagine we can make everything work. Use Abraham's word. I mean, if you want to sell and I want to buy, and we can make the money work, what else is important to you in this transaction? What else do I need to be asking? How can I make this a win-win? It's powerful, isn't it? I'm going to go through it in several, I'm going to literally say it to you several times in just a second. But think about it. After you do this, this is not something where you send them an offer in 20 minutes. Let them sit on this information. You just completely change their world. You change their perspective. You change their frame of mind. You change the way that they receive information. You've told them logically in a way where they can't dispute it without being an asshole or condescending that their business valuation is wrong, and you're prepping them for creative financing offers and annuity deals just from that frickin' conversation. Let that marinate. Let them internalize it. And when you come back to them, they're going to be much more open to creative ideas. Once again, is this going to work if you're an a-hole? No. Is this going to work if the business has been on the market for 3 days? What are they going to tell you? No, we're going to let the market sell it. My broker's telling me that we have lots of good potential prospects. He's bringing me 3 strategic buyers. Is it going to work? No. Real estate, is it going to work for a house that just got listed on the MLS? No. Think about this. Works really well for off-market deals because you're educating them. Education is the key to trust with people who have less awareness of the actual process. Think about that. So we're going to go through it several times. While we're doing that, I'll just put some stuff up. So before I go through it, our proteges are using this like crazy. And after I started teaching this and just post again and again and again, people using this saying, holy crap, it worked. Clive in this video said, in his way of saying it, that this is a $3 million business conversation he had 6 months ago. The guy dropped it to $300,000 after this conversation. Freaking nuts. All things to consider, he let it sit for about 6 months and reapproached him, which is a great thing. Abraham said yesterday, a lot of times when I make an offer and they don't accept it, I just wait because they come back to me in 6 months. But the MUD score went higher, and he was much more receptive to that offer. I'm talking a $2.7 million reduction. Pretty wild, right? John Evans said, and by the way, John Evans is an ex. I used Chris Moore's script, but it didn't work too well. And then later in the week, I called another seller we met and went through Chris Moore's script again, and it worked like a treat. It's not going to work every time. I'm going to be real with you. It's not going to work every time. Somebody who's not open to it and they're closed-minded and they've got this number in their mind and they have to get this much money at closing because they have something specific they need the money for, it's not going to work. But no trick, tip, tactic you've ever seen works every time. But I want you to know that this is something that you could stick in your tool belt in your pocket and pull out and use quite a bit. Jake was talking about how he had just learned it. Here's John again, using it again. Worked like a treat again. These guys take a lot of action, don't they? It's crazy. Jake was talking about it, how he can smell a closing right around the corner after using it. It's insane. It's crazy. Think about what Carl taught you on the annuity deals, and then think about the idea of doing the annuity deal challenge and going out and originating all these deals and making all these offers. Imagine if you learned how to do this, add that into that process. Your closing rate probably went from 1 to 2 deals to 6. And holy crap, you're popular at that point because you need help and you need new partners to help you do all these deals. It's pretty powerful. So let's go through it together. I'm going to just spit it out a little bit. I need somebody, one person, to give me an example of a type of business and a revenue number. Let's go to you. Within reason. A good annuity deal option. Okay. What are they doing in revenue?
About $1 million.
Great. Let's go. You ready? This can be used anywhere, anytime. So let's go here. So pre-frame, educate, set the stage, like bridge, blame the bank, prophesize, there is a way. It's not me, it's you. What else? What's the name of the locksmith? Doesn't matter, just tell me. Sunshine, and John owns it. John, I'm going to bring you an offer. I'm not typing. John, I'm going to bring you an offer. And it's not common practice or normal or feasible for us to pay cash for these type of deals. And just like buying a real estate property as an investor like myself, we go and we get loans on the businesses that we buy. I'm going to just let you know right up front that I'm working towards getting financing. Okay, right? Like bridge. And just like in real estate, the bank's not going to loan me more money than the appraised value, just like you would do with a house. Does this all make sense? Okay. And based off the financials that you provided to me, the bank's already let me know that they're not going to finance this transaction, unfortunately, at the valuation that you've provided and at your asking price. Okay. And this isn't just me. Anybody else behind me who comes and makes an offer in your business, it's going to be the exact same process. Okay. From there, another way. But I want you to let you know that I am committed to making this work. And there is a way I believe that I can work towards buying your business closer to your valuation, closer to your asking price. And that's something I'm 100% committed on. And even if I'm not able to do that, I'm going to try to see if I can help you get it sold because I have quite the extensive network from there. And just so you are fully aware, it's not my financial profile in this type of business acquisition that's holding us back in the transaction, but instead, it's actually the bank. The bank is kind of worried about a few things. One of the things is that being a local business, like a locksmith, that you only have this one geographic area you serve, and the fact, John, that you're still the CEO of the company and all these relationships with these big contracts that you have with these different apartment complexes for lockouts and things like that, that kind of makes the bank nervous because they're afraid when I buy it that won't translate that value, and what happens if all these contracts decide to just pull out. That kind of makes the bank nervous. It also makes the bank nervous that you've been pretty consistent over the last couple of years, but there hasn't been much growth, and they're afraid that maybe you've already tapped out how much market share you can have. And what also makes them nervous is that there's some new technology coming to the market that we just were made aware of that actually changes the way that consumers are going to deal with locksmiths. And with all that being said, I just wanted to make sure you knew that. But imagine we can make this happen. And let's just put money aside. Imagine we could figure that out. I can figure out a way to get you what you're asking for your business. What else besides money is important to you? What else should I be considering? It's done. Let them sit on it. Thank you.